Jira and Yanma arrive in the bright shining country of beauty and medicine, Ishibana, and are welcomed by its leader, Himeno-ran. Yanma, captivated by Himeno, says he has an OE when she asks if they're okay. But she's actually more intrigued by Jira. Himeno calls on her butler Sebastian, who quickly slaps handcuffs on Jira, who they later have tied up and hanging in front of the throne. Himeno says she will release him if he hands over God Kuwagata, which she merely wants to appreciate. Yanma tells Jira to just hand it over. Jira doesn't understand since Himeno is just a selfish girl. Yanma takes offense to Jira calling her that, and Jira thinks he is in love with her. Jira aggressively denies such a thing. Sebastian suggests Himeno trade something for God Kuwagata, but she says she loves everything in her country. Himeno tells Jira that she will hand him over to Rakulis if he doesn't comply. Jira excitedly says to go ahead and do it, bragging about the supposed crimes he's committed around the world. Himeno doesn't understand, but Sebastian suggests Jira wants to be captured. Jira asks if they have any rainbow jururira in this place. Himeno has no idea what that is, but Jira says it is the most heavenly food, and he will talk if they can give him some. Himeno takes him up on the offer. Meanwhile, Desnarak and Kamejim round up their troops and encourage them to kill as many humans as they can, even if they have to die for it. They must obtain the 3 guardian spirits of Chikyu in order to gain the power to cover the planet in filth. Funjimu steps forward, and Desnarak deploys him and their forces to Ishibana. Jira and Yanma follow Himeno as she is out and about amongst her people. When an Ishibanian accidentally splashes mud onto the yellow carpet, Himeno goes weak, refusing to walk on the dirtied pathway. Sebastian rushes to wipe the dirty off the carpet with his handkerchief. Himeno regains her strength when she sees the field of flowers she had ordered Sebastian to plant yesterday. Sebastian says he had it done overnight. Jira feels sick just watching this display, but Yanma says, you can do anything with power and charisma, which is what Himeno has. Himeno sets her sights on an old home in the middle of the field of flowers. She orders Sebastian to move it, but when he says it is not possible, she orders him to blow it up instead. Jira protests upending people's lives in this way. Yanma doesn't think she would ever actually do it. But after Sebastian shoos the residents of the home away, Himeno quickly pushes the detonator down and the house explodes. A shocked Yanma walks away, but Jira says they aren't leaving until he's got his rainbow jururira. Back at the palace, Jira and Yanma sit at a table with Himeno, as they are served rainbow jururira, made by the country's top chef. Yanma slurps the jururira out of the bowl. Jira takes a spoonful and says it tastes good, but it is not rainbow jururira. Himeno scolds Sebastian, who apologizes since the chef was given the exact recipe based on Jira's stories. Himeno questions if such a thing even exists. Jira says he only had it when he was young, but he can never forget the taste. That's why he will rule the world so children can taste it once again. Himeno says Jira is an intriguing character, but he will not set him free until he hands over Kuwagata. Sebastian slaps handcuffs on Jira once again, but Yanma protests, saying he needs Jira for himself as well. Unbeknownst to them, Rita is watching from behind a door. Outside, a little boy says goodbye to Jira, but suddenly, a father and daughter, who is in a wheelchair, approach the group. The father said Himeno assured them his daughter would get better after surgery, but she still is unable to walk. The father says Himeno has ruined her future. Himeno asks the daughter if that's how she feels, but she does not answer. Himeno has Sebastian give the father some monetary compensation. Jira notices the father and daughter walked out of a tailor's shop. Later, the father is relieved that they have money for another month, and it's all because of his daughter's legs. He apologizes to her for being such an inadequate father, but she says there's no need. That evening, Jira is mesmerized by the beautiful cherry blossom tree inside the palace. Yanma compliments Sebastian on being a great butler and asks how long he's been doing it. Sebastian says he's actually 25 years old, despite his looks. He is wearing special makeup in order to look more like a butler, and his real name isn't even Sebastian. Yanma can't understand how a selfish girl like Himeno could be the king. Just then, one of the maids approaches Sebastian to inform him that the Boognerak have arrived. Himeno has already head out to the field. Gira wants to join, and Sebastian hands him his sword. Sebastian hopes Gira and Yanma will be able to finally see what Himeno can truly offer. The Boonboomger are rampaging across the city. Gira and Yanma henshin first, and get to battling the Sanagims. Himeno sees the father from earlier pleading with the people holding him back that his daughter is still out in the open. Himeno rushes to shield the daughter when she is about to get hit by Funjamu's attack. Himeno instead gets the brunt of the attack, which is a splash of filth onto her yellow dress. The daughter is worried about the dirty clothes. Himeno says she can always get new ones made, but she can never replace a life. Himeno tells the daughter to hurry and run, knowing that she is able to use her legs since she treated her. The daughter hesitates, but Himeno tells her that it is okay to be selfish sometimes. Himeno says only you can make your dreams come true, and it all starts with being selfish. Then you can make the world how you want it. Himeno steps forward to announce her presence. She is the queen of Ishibana and will do as she wishes on her own terms. She henshins and takes care of the Sanagims. The daughter gets up on her own feet and says she would like to become like Queen Himeno. Gira is fascinated by the scene. Himeno says she needs God Kuwagata, and Gira allows the three of them to combine Kuwagata, Tombo, and Kamakiri. Together, they are able to take care of the dung that's been spread across the country, and eventually Funjamu for good. Over in Shugodam, Kaguragi meets with Rakuls, who tells him about Gira being in Ishibana. Kaguragi says to leave this to him to take care of. Gira being able to pilot a shoe god is a problem, but he has a plan. Duga hands Kaguragi a mysterious gem. Back in Ishibana, Himeno removes her soiled dress and gives it to Sebastian, who hands it to the father tailor to be repaired. The father is shocked that his daughter was able to walk. She says she would like to walk on her own now. The father says he will earn their money the right way from now on, and his first job will be Himeno's dress. Sebastian asks Gira if he understands Himeno now. Gira says Himeno enriches her people's hearts with beauty. He flashes back to speaking with the little boy. He was actually the one whose home was blown up, but they were moved to a nice new house. Gira understands now that people have actually been saved by Himeno's selfishness. He wants to recruit Himeno to his team, but Himeno tells him to step aside as she is ready to begin tending to the injured. Unfortunately, God Kabuto arrives and prepares to whisk them away, but Kuwagata swipes the three of them instead. Yanma explains that God Kabuto is one of the three guardian spirits, and it is commanded by Rakuls. But Tufu's ruler Kaguragi is actually behind the wheel, unbeknownst to them. He shoots at King-Ohger, forcing the gods to separate and hurl Gira, Yanma, and Himeno across the rural fields of Tufu. Yanma takes in Tufu for the first time, as Himeno is enjoying tea while being pulled along in a rickshaw by Sebastian. Himeno asks Yanma to continue explaining what God Kabuto is, as she wants to have it for herself. God Kabuto was part of the legendary King-Ohger, which saved Chikyu once before. But soon after, there was a split between the gods who would live with humanity and the three who grew to hate humanity and gave up on it. God Kabuto was one of them. 2 years ago, Rakuls asked Yanma to help to rebuild Kabuto in order for him to force it to obey. Yanma and Himeno, pulled by Sebastian, continue down the country road in order to find Gira. Gira wakes up to see Kuwagata, seemingly saying bye-bye to Kabuto as it flies away. But also beside him is Kaguragi sitting on a rock. He introduces himself as the leader of Tufu, and Gira immediately tries to turn himself in. He specifically mentions that he hopes to take down Rakuls and rule the world. Kaguragi begins to cry with happiness that Gira has shown up as their savior. Kaguragi says he will be an ally to Gira in his quest to overthrow the tyrant Rakuls. Gira is a bit skeptical, but accompanies Kaguragi into the middle of the city where they receive a celebratory welcome. The townspeople all present the bounty of Tufu's land, as the country is regarded as Chikyu's kitchen. Gira notices a radish from a little boy's basket. He says it has mud on it and has been pecked at by bugs. Gira takes a huge bite and says it must mean that the vegetable is a luxury. Kaguragi and the townspeople cheer Jira's good eye. Kaguragi proudly boasts of his country's hard work, producing such delicious vegetables. Just then, a servant approaches Kaguragi with news that Boonboomger have appeared in Tufu. Gira is ready to go, but Kaguragi asks him to allow them to deal with this. Elsewhere in town, Yanma and Himeno are henshined and already fighting off Sanagims. Desnarak and Kamejim appear and demand Kaguragi hand over God Kabuto. Kaguragi says he will absolutely do that, in a month or a year. Kamejim summons Tamejim, who begins laying waste to the farmlands of Tufu. A visibly shaken Kaguragi changes his tune and asks to meet tomorrow in the East Hills for the official handover. Desnarak says he will lay waste to Tufu if he does not get Kabuto. Later, Kaguragi speaks with Rakuls via video call and promises to get the job done quickly. Rakul says he entrusted God Kabuto to him because he believes in his capabilities. Gira's young friends overhear the conversation and stomp away after Rakuls waves at them. After the call, Rakuls asks Duga if the judge is still investigating in the castle. Duga says the judge has asked to check on Shugadam's records of the royal kitchen. Over in the palace of Tufu, Kaguragi relays to the others that his negotiation with Rakuls went nowhere. He hopes they can help him, but Gira, Yanma, and Himeno are all more interested in the delicious food of Tufu. An annoyed Kaguragi flips the chabudai, and the food goes flying, though his servants are able to catch everything neatly. Gira, Yanma, and Himeno are upset and protest, but Kaguragi says this is how they will lose Tufu. Kaguragi laments the idea of just handing over their nations and throwing away the future of their children's. When Kaguragi cries some more, Gira snaps to, and Yanma and Himeno hop along. Kaguragi happily welcomes them as their saviors and allows them to finally eat. Next day in the hills, Kaguragi hands Desnarak Tufu's great treasure, a tomato. Kaguragi is resolved to remove the pests threatening his country's harvest. He henshins and easily battles the Sanagims. The others pop out of the ground to help, especially against Tanijim. As the Kaijim is about to set more farmland on fire, God Kabuto flies in to shield the crops. The others believe it is Rakuls, but Gira says it is Kaguragi. No one but him would care to protect the farmlands from destruction. Kaguragi drives Kabuto to attack Gira in Kuwagata. They are disappointed to hear Kaguragi kneels before Rakuls. But Kaguragi says he will do whatever it takes to protect his country. Gira says hearing that makes him sick. Working with Rakuls will only lead to being used and manipulated by him. And a puppet won't be able to protect anything. Those words hit Kaguragi. But Gira adds that he has taken a liking to the king's resolution of protecting even the smallest of lives in his country. So Gira would like Kaguragi to join them in the fight against Rakuls. Gira has Kuwagata, Hug Kabuto, welcoming him as well, and that changes the color of the Kabuto soul. Gira initiates King-Ohger's gattai, with Kabuto, joining the formation for the first time. Kaguragi says he is touched by Gira's words, and altogether, they finish off Tanijim. Back on the ground, Kaguragi is on his knees in apology. Himeno is about to banish him to the depths, but Gira says there is no need, especially since no one is hurt. Gira repeats that Kaguragi will join the team. Kaguragi happily takes Gira's hand in his and stands. A suspicious Yanma wonders why Kaguragi would choose that moment to bring out God Kabuto when there was plenty of time to hand Gira over to Rakuls. Himeno asks him to stop mumbling to himself. Yanma realizes that the failed negotiations with Rakuls were just a lie. Kaguragi was just using them to ensure Tufu's safety. Kaguragi asks Gira not to take this personally. He would cover his hands in mud in order to protect his people, who are the lifeblood of his country. Kaguragi squeezes Gira's hands, proclaiming that this is the way he rules. Kaguragi turns the stage over to King Rita, who is here to arrest Gira for the crime of invasion of Tufu.